It's official. The Chicago Bulls are headed to a major shakeup this offseason. It is a report out there that Zach LaVine will, in fact, be traded this offseason. In today's episode, we'll be breaking down this article and also a possible trade that did not happen for Zach LaVine, as well as some free agent moves that the Chicago Bulls possibly could make. I'm your host, Rico Greenhowe. This is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into it, I want to let you guys know that 76.4% of you guys that actually watch the videos are not subscribers. Make sure that you press that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with your latest news with your Chicago Bulls. And without further ado, guys, let's jump into the first topic here, which is the Bulls will trade LaVine this offseason. This is an article by Casey Johnson, who actually covers the Chicago Bulls, and he's actually talking about what the Chicago Bulls potentially explored at the trade deadline, and then also to some of the deciding factors as to why the Chicago Bulls are looking to move on. So, Casey Johnson of NBC Sports Chicago reports that Chicago will look to move the 29-year-old LaVine during the summer. This shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. LaVine has been on the block since last summer. He doesn't seem to have a future with Chicago. Whether any team will show real interest in the two-time All-Star remains to be seen. LaVine is currently playing under a 5-year, $215.16 million contract. He's under contract through the 25-26 season with a player option for the 26-27 campaign. Zach LaVine's stats in the 23-24 season is 19.5 points per game with 5.2 rebounds per game, 3.9 assists per game, 45% shooting percentage with a 35% three-point shooting percentage. LaVine was in the midst of a down season before going down to injury. He entered the 23-24 campaign having averaged 25.1 points per game on 39% shooting from distance over the previous 5 seasons in Chicago. The Golden State Warriors were reportedly among the teams in on the LaVine ahead of the February trade deadline. All right, guys. So interesting enough here, the writing was on the wall, right? Because like you're seeing the fact that he was in the midst of a down year. LaVine was injury prone. We got him from Minnesota. He was injury prone. He had that same knee that he came in with from Minnesota. He had to get some surgery on that. He's also had some ankle injuries as well, which has kind of slowed him down. And the fact of the matter is that at times he turns into a defender that doesn't seem very interested. Also, too, when you get him on the offensive end, sometimes it looks like he pretty much just forgets that he's playing with his other teammates. That's a problem there because the ball movement, the player movement goes away. And I think just the bottom line is that Chicago realized that Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu actually has played better without him. And I think the fact that we have now DeMar DeRozan as our closer, and he has been willing to actually defer to the younger guys at times, has really made it a no-brainer. And I think a good thing for Chicago that they're actually looking to at least shake it up a little bit. One of the interesting things in the article that I found interesting is that they were possibly looking to ship him off to Golden State. I wanted to see what that deal was for Zach LaVine. And interesting enough, I think the deal that was on the table actually could have possibly put us higher up in the rankings here in the Eastern Conference. And I don't think that we would necessarily be in a play-in situation. So the next point is, what is the trade that we should have made that we didn't make here? So the trade the Bulls should have made that they did not make. And so that trade was actually Golden State Warriors receiving Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso. And the Chicago Bulls would have received Klay Thompson. They would have received Jonathan Kuminga. We would have also received Brandon Brzezinski. And we also would have got a lottery protected 2026 first round pick and a top 10 protected first round pick as well. All right, guys. So look, I think we would have got back a lot of young pieces that definitely could have helped us out. Number one, you're looking at Jonathan Kuminga. I think the year that he's having, honestly, with the Golden State Warriors, like, I think that he could be right up there with the most improved player award with Kobe White. And I think that that really would have gave us some insurance with Patrick Williams, because if we were not believing in Patrick Williams, which it's like a 50-50, even though I think that the Bulls want to bring Patrick Williams back. I just think that if he were going to ask for the amount of money, which it's reported that he's looking for about $20 million per year, which is a lot of money for a guy that's been injury prone and also too been inconsistent. But we would have had a nice insurance policy. We definitely would have had a guy that's producing right now. And then we also would have had a Hall of Famer, surefire Hall of Famer in Klay Thompson, either starting or coming off the bench as well. Like, can you imagine the shooting that we would have had there to go along with DeRozan, with Kobe White, and with Ayo Dosunmu? Like, we would have really been in a great situation there, even though I know we would have lost some defense. But I'm thinking that the Bulls were thinking, okay, we possibly could have got some defense back here with Klay Thompson, because even though he's not the same defender that he once was, he's still a serviceable enough defender to make it tough on opposing teams each night. So I think that they were thinking that, along with the fact that they were getting Jonathan Kuminga, who obviously, with his wingspan, his height, you were thinking he was going to affect a lot of shots, which he actually does. And I think the real steal was the fact that we were going to get some draft capital. And then also, too, who would have known, with Brandon Prudzinski, that you were going to get a guy that eventually replaced Klay Thompson. And he reminds you a lot of Devin DiVincenzo, who plays for the Knicks as well. So nobody knew that they were going to get that type of value. And I think that that's a real tough situation for Chicago now that they're knowing that they're moving on from LaVine. But everything is always 20/20 hindsight, guys. And I think that this is a deal certainly that Chicago wishes that they could have back. Now, I think that the bottom line here for us is that we know that Zach LaVine is moving on. We know that either we're going to have one of two situations. We're either going to get a situation like what was mentioned here with Golden State, where we're actually going to get some pieces back and some draft capital, or we're going to be in a situation where we're going to actually have to do a salary dump. If we do a salary dump, the only teams that I know that could actually take that salary dump on would be the Sixers, Jazz, Pistons, and the Magic. Those are the teams that actually have the ability to go ahead and perhaps take on a salary dump. Now, would they be a willing partner in this? I'm not sure about that, if that's going to happen. So with that being said, I would say more than likely we're going to have to try to find a team and get some pieces back. And we may not be able to get a starter back like a Jonathan Kuminga or a Klay Thompson now. It might be a little bit of a younger fit. And if we do go with the salary dump, I would say that we probably have a little bit more play in free agency. Some of the free agents that are out there are going to be Tobias Harris. You have Pascal Siakam. You have Buddy Hield, who's going to be out there. You have Miles Bridges, who's going to be out there. You have Mo Wagner, who's going to be out there. Christian Wood is possibly available too. So there are some options out there. Along with another thing that I find intriguing is D'Angelo Russell. All right. I think he's going to opt out of his deal, and he's going to want to test the free agency. And he was linked to us last season. He was also linked to us possibly in a trade with LaVine as well. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. Yes, it's possible that he could start alongside of Kobe White. What that would look like would mean that we would obviously move Ayo Dosunmu back to the bench, which is not a bad thing considering that our bench was near dead last in the league, only getting out about 26 points a game. But the fact of the matter is this. Look, Kobe White has averaged 19 points per game. He's averaging right around 5 assists a game and 4 rebounds or something like that. But more importantly, he's plus 87 in the clutch, guys. So he's proven that he can play in any given situation. He's proven that he can be a true point guard, which was huge, and not just be a scorer as well, so he can distribute. And I love the fact that he was able to mesh his game with DeRozan and at times with LaVine too, and still not be affected. So Look, I think that the bottom line is that we have a future here in Chicago, and I think that this is the best scenario is moving on from LaVine. Now, I think the next best scenario is that we possibly move on from Patrick Williams as well. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the greatest thing. And I'm not, it's kind of like taking off the Band-Aid. It might hurt a little bit, but it's probably going to save us in the long run. Look, I think that if we were going to pay Patrick Williams $20 million over the many seasons that he wants, guys, I mean, Kobe White himself is only making $40 million for his contract for 3 years, and he's probably going to win the Most Improved Player of the Year. Patrick Williams hasn't won an award. He's been injury prone. And even when he's been given the minutes, I haven't seen a whole bunch of a sample size that says that the Chicago Bulls should necessarily pay him the money. So let me know, guys, what you guys think in the comments. I mean, I've listed some free agents out there. What do you guys think about that trade? Should we have made that trade? Can we go out here and get the likes of a Pascal Siakam, a Tobias Harris? Would that help us as a stretch four? And are we going to keep Patrick Williams, or are we going to go ahead and shed that salary, guys? Because with him and DeRozan on the salary, that actually takes us away from where we would be potentially with our salary cap space. We would be potentially like the 11th best as far as the salary is concerned, but that's not signing DeRozan and also to Patrick Williams. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is Rico Greenhowe. This is Bulls Digest. Go Bulls. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.